So it is quite possible right now we are live.
It does say meeting is now streaming live. But I'm so curious to see if, I wonder if.
So it's theoretically, Angela, you're muted. Okay.
Yeah, we're live. I see us on Facebook.
All right, we are live.
So that's what I'm checking. I'm checking to see if we're live on Facebook.
That's what I was doing.
Share.
Going and looking at videos.
Hi, Keely. Not that.
I see us live on Facebook. Keely Hunt reacted to our Testify video.
I know. Hi,
Somebody's
Keely.
watching.
Hi, Keely.
Is Keely our one watch?
Yes, Keely. Yes. We are live on Twitch. There's a lot of noise in that. Sorry.
Oh my gosh! Yes, I can see us. We are live. This is exciting.
Oh.
All right. I can't see the YouTubes, but I have faith that we're live in YouTube.
Let's see.
Yes. I want to share
My channel. We're live on YouTube.
This is all very, very exciting.
Wow.
And remind me to include next time in our agenda just a good 5 minutes of us being like, are we live? Is it live? oh, we're live. Exciting. First order of business.
It's like our own SNL skit.
It is, yeah, except, not written.
And we're like, hello?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, okay.
The feedback's a little overwhelming at this point.
We have established that we are live. So I guess we can start talking about the things that we came here to talk about. So hi, welcome.
Hi, Kate from Germany, watching from Germany.
It's Kate Ross. Oh, it's testifier, multiple time testifier, Kate Ross.
Hi, Vicky.
You may know her from such stories as Stinky Feet.
Ooh.
Jail Feet is one that it was a very visceral story that I didn't actually smell what she was talking about, but the way that she described it, I think it really set a bar for people. When people just describe a sense memory and you're like, I didn't live that.
I mean, you say Stinky Feet.
Good job that's grossing me out with it. I feel like I was there and I feel like I suffered through this.
I default think feet are stinky and gross, so that already hit home with just the title alone.
More of a summary than a title. I think far more inventive title than that. But hi, okay, so people who are here, we are the producers of Testify. I am assuming that because you have found this, you have an idea about what Testify is. I think that there's also a 90 to 95% chance that you either have already been in Testify or have been working on Testify if you are watching this right now. But regardless, Testify is a monthly, generally live storytelling show in Austin. And what we do is we get people to tell true stories from their own lives that are all centered around a theme. We also host workshops and classes around storytelling, and we do story consulting as well. Now, as a normally in-person live show and live in-person workshop and class situation, like so many, the shelter in place and the overall COVID-19 pandemic has affected our normal activities. So what we're going to do today is, oh no, I don't think I need to be spotlighted for this. A lot of my face right now, but that's okay. So what we're doing today is just going to talk about some of the activities and events that we have planned while we are in a shelter in place, at least in Austin, at least in Travis County. And while we are also kind of navigating through these times. So real quick, before we get into it too much, I just would love to give, as we established, my name is Kate Caldwell. I am a producer of Testify, and I'm also the artistic director. And I would now like to give my other producers an opportunity to introduce themselves. You can include whatever information you would like to. Please take me off spotlight.
You're off spotlight. Hi, I'm Paul Normandin. I am also a producer of Testify, and I'm responsible for that picture behind me. That is Milford Sound. One of the best events of my life was spending 3 weeks going from Auckland all the way down to Milford Sound and just having the best time of my life, finding the more beautiful spots as we went through New Zealand. I'm in sheltering in place too, so this is not what I've been doing. Obviously, I've been sitting in a room imagining I was there. But I was talking to one of my friends, Paul Jimenez, and he's a great guy. And we were playing D&D virtually online like you do during this event, because you can't be face-to-face. But it was cool because he's in Washington, D.C., and I am in Austin. And so the one cool thing that was happening was we could play these games virtually. And he said, you know, Paul, I have a lot of extra time on my hand. I'm stuck at home. I would like to take improv now. Do you think I'm too old? He didn't ask that question. And do you think it's appropriate for me to do that? And I said, well, now's the perfect time. You can take classes from anybody, anywhere. And so we literally went on the internet and looked for some place that had all of the virtual classes that were going on, and we couldn't find them. So we just started going to places. And then we started looking at different time zones because he's in DC and classes are in LA. Why can't he take the classes in LA? And that was like a revelation. And the next thing I knew, we were looking all over the world. And I looked in Wellington, New Zealand, because I thought that's going to be fun. And he looked in London because he thought, oh, that would be fun. And the next thing I knew, he was betting me. I was not brave enough to take an improv class in London. And, you know, I took that bet because why the hell not? I'm an improviser. You do this silly thing in the moment. And when I signed up to take that class, of course, they had no idea where I was. And when I walked in, all 10 people in the class had British accents. And it was just remarkable how many people were speaking with British accents. And so every scene, as a good improviser, I tried to mirror their accent. And they all walked in with British accents. And every time I'm mirroring them, and after the third time, I'm like, okay, that's too many British accents for me. And the next one, I walked in and I tried to do a Russian accent. And as soon as I did, I realized we were Queen's Guards in the UK. And so it seemed really odd that they would have a Russian, but it was fun and it was funny. And we had an absolute blast. And they tried to make it as hard for me as possible by doing all the British things in one little 2-hour class. And it was great. And I can't wait to go back, except it's at a horrible time for me. But other than that, it's good. And other than that, it was great. And so now I've played in New Zealand. And on Thursday, I'll be telling a story in Montreal, Canada. So that's what I've been doing in this horrible time of COVID. Thank you.
Yeah. Angela.
Oh man, mine's not nearly as exciting.
What have you been up to? Well, who are you first off?
Oh, okay. I'm Angela. I'm one of the producers here with Testify, and I'm in Manor right now with the fields and the little bunnies that run around the neighborhood, which my hound dog Beagle Banjo loves to chase. Like, you know, he's probably hands down the loudest dog in the neighborhood. So I'm like that dog mom that's like, oh my God, just make him whine. Like, what are we? I'm like, and he's just like baying as we go on our walks. So it's definitely, I miss Austin. I miss going to Austin as much as I do. So I haven't been doing a lot. I have 2 cats and 2 dogs and a fiance. So it's kind of a lot of TV and hanging out and tons of pet pictures on my phone. My proudest quarantine moment probably would be getting through almost 15 seasons of CSI Las Vegas. But that's just the show I put on while I work, so I'm not really watching. Watching is just on in the background. But then I reached the end of it and I was just like, huh, well, now what? So then I moved on to Medium, and that is the new show.
Yeah. Do you have kind of a defining moment in this time?
Well, the procedurals are pretty perfect because they're just hour long. You don't have to like, I mean, yeah, there's themes and threads and whatever, but it's not too enthralling like a movie or any type of like show you really want to watch. Because then personally, I'm watching Schitt's Creek.
Oh yeah.
Really want to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
Are we
what.
allowed to say that online?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, but because
Testify, hold on, real quick. Sorry, some ground rules. Testify is an 18 and up show. So Testify producer chat is also an 18 and up show. If you're not finding your children on the internet, no, I can't make statements like that.
And I feel like kids probably know way more words than adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And Angela, is there a moment like in the shelter in place that's kind of been like a defining quintessential moment for you?
Yes, the toilet paper run has affected me greatly. I literally did not get any. I now living on the suburbs, I shop at Costco, and we did not pick any up. So then when all the shelter in place happened, you couldn't find anything anywhere. And one day I went to like 5 different places, HEB on Hancock Center, HEB, CVS on Guadalupe. I went to Fresh Plus right there by Quacks. I went to just gas stations. I went to like Wheatsville, nothing, like nothing. 5 different places. And I was like down to literally like 2 rolls. And I was just like, oh my God, now there's just empty shelves. And then you're going into these, these grocery stores. So we finally went to a Costco one morning, and this angel of a man had a stack of Costco size roll, and I was just like, oh my God! I think I almost cried because I thought I was gonna have to supermarket sweep through Costco just to run and make sure find it. But then once he gave it to me. And I wasn't like hoarding, I was like, I legit needed it. So it was just like, oh, maybe. No, like this was down to like the weird random roll Byron picked up at a 7-Eleven, earlier. And then I was just like, oh, this was it. And I never realized like how much that I was so happy. I was so happy. I was just like, now I get it. I get why people are just like, after they win the big prize and that shit. I get it.
It was like
my Price is Right moment, because I was just like, and then I could enjoy Costco because I didn't have to like run through the warehouse. So yeah, that's my little suburbs moment. So I've never been so happy to see a man give me toilet paper. I was so excited. I was just like, okay, that's my moment.
Yeah. Thank you. Lottie.
Hey.
Hi, Lottie.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
I am a producer. I'm the newest producer of Testify. It's my first year, and we have all this excitement going on at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
It's your fault, Lottie.
I don't know if y'all know, Steve was in Egypt when everything started. And he came home as he was on vacation. He was supposed to be another 2 weeks on vacation. And he had to come home because they started shutting down airports. So he made it home, but he not known to him, he already had been infected. And he came home and we both got sick for 2 weeks with COVID at the beginning of everything. No. But we're fine now. And we're both fine now.
Hold on. Just to anybody who's watching, this is the first that any of us are learning about
Lottie,
this.
what?
There's no reason. No one can do anything. There's no reason to tell people.
They're your friends.
We could have just said, like, checked in on you.
Yeah.
We could have acknowledged, yeah. Like actually, I'm
Why would you do?
a number of things that we
you
could
know,
have done.
Steve is very much like me. If we don't feel good, the last thing we want to do is talk to people. So he
We
was.
don't want to talk to you, but we would have dropped off some soup, or just not
See,
asked you
this
to
is the
do
nice thing.
Or wine.
When Steve goes on vacation, he's the cook. So when he goes on vacation, he stocks the house so that I'm good while he's gone. So when he came back, we had everything we could need for the next 2.5 weeks. We didn't have to leave anywhere. So it was an okay time for us to both be sick.
Did you have medicine? Like, I mean, how was it? Like, was it?
No, what we had done, because I had read enough about this before he left, I stocked the house with Theraflu and all that kind of stuff, because they say the symptoms are basically the same, which it turned out to be the same for Steve and I. We were both just really, really tired, and we had fevers and a little bit of coughing. So we just took the Theraflu and slept for 2 weeks until we felt better.
Oh, wow.
It hung on a little bit longer with him than with me. I got better sooner. But we're fine now. And what's interesting is I get calls from my sister, my parents, from time to time. And my sister's always complaining about my mother because my mother's a bit bossy. It's just the way my mother is. Well, my mother called to complain about my sister because apparently my sister has decided she's in charge of the house because they're old and won't let them out of the house. My mother says, well, I've got to go get them. No, you don't go anywhere. So now my mother's like, your sister won't let us leave. I said, well, she's actually right. Of anyone in the house, y'all are the people who should go out the least. So it's funny seeing the dynamics in my family change to where the one who was always taking the beating is now the one tossing them out. But we're fine now.
Do you have, other than, I guess, actually having COVID-19, do you have any other kind of defining moments other than, I guess, the most defining moment you have during a pandemic, which is actually getting it? Are there any other moments that you felt have kind of, this got very dramatic.
Well, you know, what I will say is this, what's been funny, what's been interesting for me is watching so many people I know go, oh my God, this is horrible. When will we get out? When will we do this? And I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, what am I going to read today? I have this book. Oh, I'm going to start this one. I'm going to start. So while there are lots of people dying to get out in the world, I kind of like being home. It's been okay. I mean, I do miss, there are certain things I miss, but I don't miss a lot.
What do you miss?
I miss dogs. I miss walking dogs. That's where my social deprivation has come in. Is I'm like, because Steve and I will go on walks in the morning, and I will always be oh, look at that one. Look at, and he's just like, it's a dog. I've seen all these dogs. I said, I know, but there he is again.
Now, do you have a neighbor that has a dog that you like to walk?
Has there been any sort of solution?
Well, yeah. Should I go ahead and tell my story? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then this is what I will say. I don't miss people, sadly. I've got Steve here. And that's good for me. And we've been fine because he's kind of like me, so we both kind of like the quiet and everything. But we would go for walks in the morning, and I have a very strict regimen when I'm walking dogs in where they stand, because I want to make sure I'm the one closest to traffic so that they're always safe from oncoming cars and bikes and things like this. Well, on our walk, Steve started noticing that I was pushing him. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, you're walking too close to traffic. And then he looked at me, he says, you think I'm a dog, don't you? And I said, yes, I do. So I'm moving you so that you won't be in direct traffic and cars won't pass you, they'll pass me, and I know you're safe. So I started pushing him in, and that that's when he decided that even though I have attested to the fact that I don't really miss people that much, that I needed to see a dog. And so he called our neighbor and said, would you please let Lottie walk your dog? And they were like, well, sure. They thought this was just out of the ordinary. They said, yeah, no, he says he really needs, he really needs some canine attention. He really needs to hang out with a furry something. So he told me, and I was like, what are you doing? I don't want to go out with a neighbor's dog. This is the silliest thing I've ever heard. He said, well, you have to do it now. I've already made the appointment. She expects you to text her and you're going to go walk this dog. I was like, oh, I hate this. This is so stupid. I called her. I said, hi, this is Steve's partner, Lottie. I'm coming over. I'm going to walk your dog. She said, that's fine. She'll be in the front yard. I put her leash and everything there. And I was really annoyed up until I got to the front yard. And then I was like, oh my God, this is great. So I sat and ran around with the dog in the front yard. We were just chasing it. And then I got her leash and we went on, from what I have come to understand, a really long walk for her, because she normally gets about a 20-minute walk in the morning and a 20-minute walk in the evening. And she's not going, 4 or 5 blocks. Well, I took her on a 2.5-mile walk.
Oh.
And it was so much fun. But she started wanting to rest at a couple of places. And then when we got to a block that she recognized, I was getting ready to head left just to add another, 10 blocks to the walk. But she pulled me. She was like, this is the direct route home. I'm ready to go home. I was like,
she's like, I can see it.
I'm done. Thank you for spending time with me. I'm done with you for today. But I took her back home and her mother said, this was so nice of you. I said, no, this was really nice of you, because I had not realized how much I had missed just hanging out with a dog until this happened. She's like, well, you can come walk her anytime. I said, believe me, you'll hear back from me. We haven't, because she sent me flowers the next day, which was so nice. But I don't want to start a thing. I don't want her to feel obligated. I mean, if I walk her, it's just because I walk her. I don't want her to feel like she's obligated to send me flowers each day. I didn't want that kind of reciprocation. So I've been kind of afraid to go back again, but I may just sneak in the yard and play with the dog the next time it's out. But I know it made Steve much happier, because now I'm less pushy on walks with him. I will move him physically from one side of the street to the other. But I no longer bump him, because that's what I used to do with dogs, is I would just bump him with my knee. I said, come on, let's go this way. And that's what and apparently people don't like it as much as dogs.
I also just have a great appreciation for the fact that this lady, thank you for doing this.
Yes.
Decide not to do it anymore. You're like, oh, no, you thanked me. So, sorry about that. You showed appreciation. So I guess
I would love to I just don't want her to think, I don't want flowers coming every day.
That would be horrible. Flowers.
I'm not sure they will.
Yeah. Okay, I'll call her and say, by the way, we love the flowers, but don't send any more.
I think you could just be like, hey, I'll walk your dog again. And I doubt she'll send you flowers. Like,
okay. Well, that's good to know. And that makes me feel better, because then I'm more likely.
Just leave them in your front yard and I'll come get them and give them to Vic, and we'll pretend that
she was so cute. She had so much fun for the first 45 minutes of the walk.
And Lottie, we've been hanging out. Now that you told me you had the coronavirus, I took my temperature and my pulse ox, and turns out I'm fine. So, and I know it's been virtual hanging out, but I still was worried.
We really don't know.
Yeah, it could pass through.
The science is out.
That's right.
So you didn't have any of the breathing problems? Or
oh no, we both got heavy chests for a while, for about a week, but not to the point to where we felt that it was dangerous.
How about fever and
we both had fever for 2 days.
Okay.
But once that went down, yeah, and there was nothing to do about it. Everything we read, they can't do anything. They don't have medicine to give you. Everything I read originally said the best thing you could do was take flu medication, and we had it. So we just NyQuil'd out for 2 weeks.
Wow. Again, information that I really wish you had shared with us.
Yeah.
We went live
Sorry. I'm back.
in front of other people, but it's fine.
I didn't tell my
no.
parents either, because
What?
no, they can't know. Because they're older, they would have found a way to come up here. And my mother's already driving me crazy on the phone with things. Do you have this? Do you have enough toilet paper? Do you have enough soap? Do you need some more aspirin? I can send you some aspirin. I'm like, oh.
Tell her no
if I
toilet
told her we
paper
were
and
sick, it would
point
have
her at Angela's house.
been horrible. Yeah. If she gets extra toilet paper, I'll send it to you.
I'm not gonna say no. I'm not gonna say no.
And
I did not want to go through that again. That
We're
was
working all this out. I get the flowers. Angela gets the toilet paper. I see
Yeah.
where we're at.
That's fair.
like HEB was changing its hours. Like, I don't know what's going on. It was horrible. It was
Well, I have to say, similar to you, Lottie, there's a lot about the shelter in place that I am very comfortable with. Namely, like the sitting around alone, where I'm like, oh, what will I work on now? Don't get me wrong, there are times where I'm filled with like existential dread. I think that's what's different, because I work for a global company, and none of my team members are in Austin. So I'm already pretty remote. And I do work from home quite a bit anyhow, although it's nice to be able to go into an office like when I want to. But so to work from home and to not be in the same room with people, that's not really a change for me. I remember talking with somebody, and they were like, oh man, I'm really feeling like the lack of social interaction. Like, are you feeling that? And I was like, actually, no. Opposite. So I have been in a long distance relationship for the last, like, I don't know, like year and it's been a while. And then like starting last October. And so what we would do is we would spend like a week, he was in New York. So he'd spend a week in Austin 1 month. And then the next month I'd spend a week there. We go back and forth, like, staying with each other for a week or 2 weeks at a time. We started moving his stuff down in October, and all of his like personal stuff came down, but he had a metal shop in New York that it took a lot longer to get that all down. And that actually wound up lasting until March 7th. He got the last of his stuff into Austin on March 7th. I remember March 7th for a couple of reasons. One, we were going to the symphony that night. And I was like, if I have to find somebody else to take this ticket, like, I'll do it. But I'm going to raise this as an issue. And then also that day was the day that New York started quarantining people. I think they quarantined like 2,500 people across the state. And I was like, at first it'd been kind of like, I was like, you really need to like figure this out and get it done, because there's like a pandemic. And at the time I felt like a little bit of a crazy person, being like, I'm overreacting and I'm worrying about things. But actually it turns out that I was not overreacting at all in that one moment, in that very one moment. But so anyway, starting March 7th, like, he's here in our apartment, like full time. And I think like when we hit the 3 weeks of living together mark, it's in the middle of a shelter in place. So we went from having like a lot of space and navigating that space to having no space and navigating the no space. Again, normally I work, like I'll have phone calls with people throughout the day, but like I'm alone a lot, and I'm really good at being alone. And having somebody suddenly in our space is a fun adventure. And we're learning a lot of things about each other. One thing I've learned is that how he learns about me sometimes is standing very close to me while I'm doing something and asking me questions about why I'm doing it that way. And then also sometimes making suggestions on a way to do it differently. Now, there are two things that I really enjoy, and that is having space and also not being questioned. Those are two things that I really enjoy in life. And suddenly they are no longer options the way that they were. And I will also say I've lived by myself for years, and I have absolutely developed, for anybody else who has lived by themselves for a long period of time, I get weird sometimes. Like, I don't even realize that it's weird because it's just been me. And like, my cat will give me a side eye, but she's a cat and whatever, I feed her. But like, I do recognize, like, on his end of the spectrum, you know, I'm like, stop asking, like, you're standing too close to me, asking me why I'm doing this. And he's like, but also, why are you doing it that way? That's weird. Like, I think we'd made some green beans and they came out funky, and I was like going through and I was sorting them, and he just was like right up behind me. Like, I could feel his breath like on my face, and he was just like, why? And his hand would reach down. And then finally I was like, nope. And I threw the green beans down and went into the kitchen. Went from the kitchen into my living room and just sat and was like, and I do believe that that's the face that I made. I do think I also did this with my hands. And then he like peeks his head around the corner from the kitchen, and he's like, and I was like, you're just standing really close to me asking me questions. And he was like, oh, okay. And to his credit, they were legitimate questions that should have been asked. It's not wrong for him to ask questions. It was weird. I was doing a weird thing. But it's just really interesting in this time where I'm not getting like a wide variety of social interaction. And I recognize that I'm really lucky to not be entirely on my own, and that it is like definitely a privilege to have another human body in the space that I'm in, especially one that I do really love, and like 85% of the time really enjoy having here. But I've actually lost, like a lot of people have lost their social activity. And I have actually lost my isolation. And that's a weird space to be in, where actually I'm getting so much more personal interaction than I am used to. So I'm kind of in this like transposed space. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that I would love to hug right now, but I am not missing social interaction as much as I am missing complete and total isolation. So it's interesting. We're also, I don't know, I'm sure there are people watching who have been in our apartment, which is all of 654 square feet and does not have a single door that completely shuts. So I think some of it is also just that we are in the tiniest of spaces together. At the end of the day, I actually, and I mean this literally, like I journal a lot. I've been journaling a lot more in this time. And I will say at the end of the day, when I'm like journaling, I do, like I can even be really irritated, because sometimes when I get really irritated, I will pick up my journal and I will write about him, and I will look at him while I'm writing angry things about him in my journal. But literally at the end of the day, when I'm kind of closing out with my thoughts, like I look at him, and usually what I end up writing is like, wow, I'm just really lucky. And even in this time of like chaos and a whole lot, like I feel really, really lucky. So that is how my quarantine is going. Oh, gross. Don't make that noise.
It's so sweet.
Oh, it was very
It is
sweet.
kind of. Also kind of not. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're all at. What I can also say, and I don't know about y'all, but I am missing hearing people tell stories.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Even hearing y'all's stories, some of them very surprising, Lottie.
Sorry.
Some of them very surprising. But I am missing hearing about people's lives and hearing about people's stories. And we're hoping that our fellow testifiers are as well. So we are doing something a little bit different coming up. While the state of Texas has opened somewhat, Travis County still has restrictions in place. And I will say also, Testify as a group, as an organization, places a large importance on the health and safety of both the people working on the show and the people performing in the show and the people attending the show. So, you know, we're not necessarily going to follow the guidelines of the state. As they open up, we're probably going to follow a timeline that's a little bit different. It will be guided probably by Travis County, but then also, you know, as we work within our own community and our own, you know, with the Spider House Ballroom that we will hopefully be able to come back to. So it's not a situation where the state opens up and our show opens up. But we've got some virtual things happening in the meantime. We've got 4 live shows that will be happening. They will be on Thursdays at 8 p.m. But instead of being monthly, we're going to have 2 a month. So our next one is going to be May 14th. That theme is Out the Window. We're going to have one on the 28th, which would be our normal show day. And that's going to be This Is Fine. We're going to have one on the 11th that is sold out. And then we're going to have one on the 25th that would be our normal show date that's not there. So we definitely are going to be virtual for May and June. And then, you know, we'll try to figure out how we start integrating back into the show as we look at what's happening out in the world. And, you know, if it's actually like reasonable for our company and for our performers to do all this. But we are looking for storytellers for all of these themes. We are not necessarily looking for stories from the quarantine. We're all still kind of processing what's going on, and it might not be the easiest thing to end a story that's happening currently. So not specifically quarantine stories, but if you have other stories for these quarantine-inspired themes, we want them. They'll be a little bit shorter. We're not doing our normal 11 to 13. We're doing 7 minutes to 9 minutes, and they will be virtual. We will, but don't worry, we've already got instructions and rules for you and a process. So if you are interested, please submit a story. And if this is a story that you've already submitted before, go ahead and resubmit it for this particular thing. We're not necessarily trying to mine the stories that we have in our library that we know were intended to be a little bit longer form. It doesn't mean that you can't shorten it, but we wouldn't want, if somebody had it in mind to have a little bit more time to tell it, to make that assumption for them. So if it's a story that you've already submitted, but that you want to resubmit for our virtual platform, by all means, go ahead and do that. In fact, please send us your stories because we want to get you up here. And so, yeah, so 2 stories a month, 2 shows a month, 2 in May, and then 2 in June. And then we also have in May a workshop planned. It is going to be on Saturday the 16th. That's in 2 weeks. It is going to be virtual as well. And it is going to be on telling a 5-minute story. And Paul Normandin here is going to be leading on that. So Paul, can I have you explain a little bit about what it's about and what people will be learning in it?
Yes, I would love to do. Oh, I'm way too excited. Yes. We're going to have a calm storytelling where people interact with each other. It's going to be developing your 5-minute story. We're going to talk about how to mine yourself for stories and look for a nice subject matter that kind of fits the time and the theme you may want to have. Or we may just develop some stories that you have into stories that fit within 5 minutes. Maybe you've got a 20-minute epic and you're saying, Paul, how do I get this into 5 minutes? We're going to work on those things with you. And we'll have the storytellers that are in the class, because you will be storytellers if you take the class. We'll have you sharing your story because you're a storyteller when you're in the class. It's like magic. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm very excited about the class. that will be at 1:30 on May 16th. It'll be a 2-hour class, and it's only $15 to attend. And if you can't afford $15, just, DM us and let us know, and we'll make it work.
Yeah.
We promise. I'm very excited.
And it's good that you're excited, because we're excited. And, I think that is a thing that we're all working through right now, is with all of the madness and all of the different things happening in the outside world. How do we retain excitement, inspiration, motivation, in a way that's sustainable?
While we wear masks.
Excitement, because it is helpful to me. And that's something that we're certainly hoping to help everybody with as well through these shows and through this workshop. It's just a way. I don't subscribe to the mega productivity philosophy that, this time in quarantine means that you have to become an expert in everything that you've ever been interested in and finish your due stack of books. Some of us, it's not a list, it's a literal stack of books in our living room. It's several stacks of books in our living room. They're not happy. Like, look, I'm going to read like a few of them, and I might read some of them twice. But anyway, we do understand that there's a lot going on. And one way of navigating this is coming back to stories and being able to tell our stories and being able to set a time to focus on them. Whether or not that focus actually comes, I don't have to. But what we can do is set aside a bit of time. It is $15. And as Paul said, if you don't have the $15, because we do understand that this is a time of economic fragility, I think is a way of phrasing it. It's certainly what I feel in our household. So if that's not realistic for you right now, then just let us know and we'll figure something out. Along those lines, our shows are going to be free. There's no subscription necessary. We'll have them on YouTube. We'll have them on Twitch. We'll have them here on Facebook. These are the 3 platforms that they'll be streaming on. But you don't have to subscribe to anything or pay any money to watch them. These are just kind of our gift to the community. Now, if you are in a space where you are able to support us in any way, shape, or form, we do have a couple of ways that you can do that. We have a Venmo at Testify ATX. And you could, if you do watch the show and you enjoy it and you're like, you know what, I've got an extra $5. That's what the show normally costs, $5. You could send that our way through Venmo and we would appreciate it. If you want to do a little bit of a longer term support of Testify as we kind of get through this time and things are a little different, or not even just through this time, just in all of life, if you like the work that we're doing and you want to support it, we also have a Patreon. This is something we've brought up at our live shows, but haven't really gotten into. Patreon is an online platform that allows people to continually support creators and makers and artists and shows like Testify. And so if you go to Patreon, and I think we'll put the link in, you'll see that there are different levels of contributions that you can sign up for, and different levels of contribution actually get you different rewards. They're all kind of geared towards a live show, so we'll figure that out as well as we move forward. But if you wanted to kind of give us a longer term subscription of support, Patreon is the place to do that. And again, you'll see the different levels. None of them are like huge, but it is just another way. If you're in a position where you have it and you want to, then that's available to you. All of that, again, to come back to, our shows won't cost any money. And they're basically a way that, it's hard. It's a difficult time and people are having difficult times for different reasons. Again, I'm looking at you, Lottie. How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you not tell us
you?
that you had the thing? But anyway, we find a lot of inspiration and we find a lot in stories. We're very, our whole team is very passionate about stories. And I have found them very helpful in, where I'm like, oh, existential dread. I don't feel anything. And then I'm like, I'll hear somebody's story and I'm like, oh, nope, now I'm happy crying. Now I'm sad crying, but now I'm happy, but I'm feeling things again, right? And I'm working through it. And so we just want to be able to help people tell them and help people feel them. So those are all of the things. You can expect a lot more about all of them online. And probably, well, you won't see us in person, but if you Zoom with us, we'll probably bring it up. My fellow producers, anything y'all want to tack on before we go?
Well, just like Kate was saying about like being able to hear these storytelling, and I think I'm spoiled because I get to every month when we're at Spider House, like hear all these stories, not just be able to work with people from, you know, step one to them seeing them on stage. And it seems like, you know, no matter how crazy the week has been, or if I'm sick or whatever is happening, there's never like not a moment where the lights are dim and I'm hearing stories and I'm like weeping, or I'm so, you know, kind of overwhelmed by all the stories that have been, you know, that the work they put in, and then seeing it on stage. I mean, it guarantee Lottie gets on stage, I will be crying. That is a given. Yeah. A total given. And I've teased him because I love watching Lottie because he has this thing I call the Lottie pause. Yes. At some point in his storytelling, he'll just like, and then take a moment, like it's just like one thing, and then it's just like, and I was like, oh my God, that like just sets me off, because I'm just like, that it's emotional, and it's just, so that's the wonderful thing that I get out of just being fortunate to be part of a group where we get to work with so many people. I mean, even Lottie, when he just started working with us, I think Lottie was the first person I worked with when I started the team. So you're the first person I met up with and worked with. And then so, I mean, I could literally just have Lottie read a phone book and just be totally fine.
Except not for Testify, because you're not allowed to read.
No, not allowed, but just maybe like just record it, you know, and then just like background.
I'm doing that for my kids right now. I'm reading them the Earthsea trilogy. And what it's doing is helping them sleep at night. So they go to bed and fall asleep a lot better and faster because I read to them at night.
A soothing book. Yeah, you like soothing books on tape.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. I mean,
but I don't read it like Lottie, then they would never get any sleep. Be on the edge of their seat the whole time.
Yeah, I think coming back to like Testify and our shows, we can't promise you soothing, right? Because like Testify shows, you know, we're going to look to book a range of types of stories and book different types of storytellers, right? But we promise you, it'll make you feel something, and it'll make you feel something different. And I think that's another way that I've used stories in this time. It's amazing to me how every day can bring something different and then also feel like the same exact day. And so for me, one way that I found stories very helpful is I'll feel something different, and I'll feel something that's not mine. And sometimes, this is the thing that I love about storytelling, sometimes it's easier for me to start out feeling something that is somebody else's before I start to try to tackle what I am working with. So that we can promise you. We can promise you that you will feel something. And that's all we have.
And Kate, that's exactly what storytelling classes do. We'll teach you that if you hear somebody else's story, when their story is over, you often have a story that has popped into your brain while you were listening to somebody else's story. It's like, it is a communicative property. You share a story and you get a story from your own history that just pops right up. Also, I wanted to let everybody know my pulse ox is fine. It's totally okay. All right.
Well, on that note, Paul's okay. Lottie had a plague and didn't tell us, so we're going to sort that out offline. Angela is a gift, and I also want to thank Angela and Paul for all of the work that they did to figure out the live streaming situation we have going on today, because it's been, I think it's gone very well. I can't tell, we'll find out after, but it seemed like it's worked, and we were trying to figure this out the other night. And I definitely felt like maybe I was like 100 years old and like a grandparent talking about the cloud, where, you know, where they're like, you know, the cloud. And I'm like, you know, the stream. How do we get it on the stream? But they took a lot of extra time and they figured it out. And this is how we will be producing our shows for the next 2 months. And so we cannot thank them enough. And we also need to thank y'all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking a bit of your time. We hope to see you on our virtual stage and at our virtual shows and at our virtual workshop. Everything's so virtual. But yeah, thank you so much.
Lottie?
Kate, one thing, we have someone asking where the link for the workshop will be.
Oh,
It will be online.
yes.
Be on the stream.
It'll be in the cloud.
It'll be in the cloud.
I think, Angela, can you share it?
We've got an Eventbrite set up, and we're also going to set up a Facebook event. So all of that will be available.
Cool.
Don't worry, you're going to get spammed with all of the everything that we talked about today, as far as like events and workshop and everything like that. You will get spammed with those links, and we'll be creating events, and we'll have it on across our normal platforms on our website.
And I just shared it in the chat. If one of you can share it to the Facebook.
Yeah. So don't worry. We'll have that to you shortly. And thank you for your interest.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. Now I feel like I'm doing the thing where I tell storytellers to end their story definitively and not try to end it 20 times. And now I've ended this Facebook Live 20 times. So on this note, thank you all for your time. Look forward to telling stories with you in different ways.
Love you all. Miss you very much. Miss taking tickets at the door.
Okay, we got to cut it. We got to go.
Bye.
Shut it down.
Bye.